Hello, everyone. I'm Donna Fiducia.
And I'm Don Neuen, and this is Cowboy Logic Radio.
Cowboys didn't dance, didn't wear designer shirts. When their hearts were filled with memories, their bodies filled with hurt. They would sit around the campfire and exchange a piercing glance. Back when the West was really wild, cowboys didn't dance.
Welcome to Cowboy Logic Radio.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Don Neuen. Let me be the first to welcome you all to tonight's riveting episode of Cowboy Logic Radio. Boy, have we got a big one for you. Back to you, Donna.
Somehow I knew you were going to say that.
How'd you know that?
Been a while. We took a week off, and therefore...
Well, we didn't take a week off. I think we need to tell the listeners
we
what
didn't mean
really
to take a week
happened.
off.
Yeah. Do you want me to share this with them?
Yes, I think you should.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we live out in the middle of God's country. We are in rural America, and that's where the Cowboy Logic Radio studios reside.
But hold on. If you're Tom Brokaw, you're in rural.
Aren't you glad I'm not Tom Brokaw?
Yes.
Yeah. All right, so anyway, ladies and gentlemen, we live out in God's country, and there's a few things that we don't have where we live. First of all, we don't have public water that is piped into our house. We have to use a well.
Which is great.
Yeah, it tastes great. Less
we do
filling.
have toilets that flush, though.
Yeah, they flush right out into our yard, into a leaching field. How do you like that? All right. The other things that we don't have trash pickup. We have to take all of our garbage to the dump.
We have a pickup truck.
That's right. We pick up our own trash and we take it to the dadgum dump. But there's something else that we don't have here at Double D Ranch.
High taxes.
Home of Cowboy Logic Radio.
High taxes.
We don't have those, that's for sure. We don't have any kind of good internet.
High-speed internet. We don't
That's
have
right.
that either.
And our internet provider, which happens to be Verizon for the studio, let me think of what the word I'm looking for. Sucks.
Crapped out.
Yeah, it sucks terribly.
But it didn't initially.
No, it's because they're moving away from 4G and LTE into 5G.
No, actually,
and the other thing is
3G
this.
they're getting rid of.
Well, here's the thing. We are so far down the totem pole for, outages and problems with cell towers because we're a less populated area that we're not even on the call list. So Donna has to call up and she has to inject them with New Jersey Italian attitude, which she does very well. And then it doesn't work very well. So at any rate, what ended up happening was that for the better part of about 10 days, we did not have reliable internet. Well, without reliable internet, we are unable to communicate with any level of fidelity with our guests that we like to interview. And so we found this out. Donna had to cancel one interview that she had scheduled in the middle of the week. Then we had to cancel both of our guests that we had coming in on Saturday or Sunday. Mm-hmm. At any rate, it was a real pain in our butt. And so big hat tip to how crappy Verizon wireless cellular service is.
But what really is odd is that they fixed it and it's come back at like a third of the speed it was before.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's lightning not fast. Really not bigly. No. Wouldn't you say that, Donna?
Yeah,
Donna Fiducia, how would you rate our internet speed? Suck or suck more?
Both.
Both. Total suck. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Verizon. Total suck internet. All right, so that's why we weren't on last week. But we have fixed this. And, Donna, I'm going to share with the people our solution because Donna and I are the kind of people that solve problems. We don't sit around and whine about it. We whine about it after we've solved the problem.
Yes.
Which is exactly what I was just doing when I was talking about the level of suck that Verizon has. So here's the solution to our problem, ladies and gentlemen. If this kind of crap continues with Verizon, we're simply going to move the Cowboy Logic studio over to WLBB 1330 AM and 106.3 FM in Carrollton, Georgia. we don't want to do that because Donna likes to do her shows in her underwear. Well, no, you're not in your underwear. You've got jeans on.
Yeah, I have jeans on right now, but I like to do other things during the day and not have to, if I trade stocks and stuff like I like to do.
Do you do that in your underwear?
Sometimes.
There you go, ladies and gentlemen. Fox News, babe.
My little pink slippers.
Did you ever wear just your underwear when you were on Fox?
No.
Like below the desk, like Sean Hannity's done?
It was too darn cold because Shepard Smith kept the studio like 55 degrees. For the life of me, at least I was able to wear what I would call nice
clothing,
feminine business suits. Now they all look like they're going to cocktail parties. And in the middle of winter, I would have froze my tuchus off at Fox if I was still there because there's no way I could go sleeveless. I used to have like a long sleeve T-shirt on, and I would cut the neck out so you wouldn't see it. And then I'd have my regular shirt on and a jacket over that, and I'd still be freezing.
And you would use a U-Haul packing blanket on your legs.
Over my legs when I didn't have to actually be in the big studio because it was freezing.
It was cold.
Shepard
Smith
very
used
cold. To keep it freezing.
It was very cold.
Scream at him.
It was very cold.
Yep.
Like almost freezing temperatures.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree. So, Donna Fiducia.
Yes.
I was thinking about some of these guests that we've got coming up later.
Well, we have.
But wait a minute. Mm-hmm. And what I was thinking is that we've got this one dude, Tom Del Beccaro.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to slip into the same voice that I recorded the song "Dope Is Uncool." Okay, Tom Del Beccaro. Man, he every time we talk to Tom, he tries to make me feel bad about being me.
But that's not an Italian accent. It's
a whiny Cuban accent.
Yeah.
But I didn't. When I recorded the song "Dope Is Uncool," which, ladies and gentlemen, we will play for you at some point. This is going on a new record that John Seckman and I are recording, and we have brought this one out of the vaults from 30 years ago. John says he doesn't want to put "I'm a Little Snowflake" on the record.
Oh, I love "I'm a Little Snowflake." It's perfect.
He doesn't want to put it on there for some reason.
We'll have to talk
At any rate,
that.
"Dope Is Uncool" is this song that I wrote about 30 years ago. John and I recorded it about 30 years ago, and we're re-recording it. We're giving it a new facelift.
It's kind of like the Beatles. You find these lost recordings.
Yeah, these are the lost files. Anyhow, for this particular song, though, Donna, I slipped into character, don't you think?
Sorta.
Hey, listen, I had a vocal training coach. Now, she happened to be Mexican and not Cuban, and I should reach out to my buddy Paco Vasallo down in Miami. And, right before we go to mastering this, I should get his evaluation.
But you
Maybe
were
I will.
living in Miami when you wrote this song.
Yeah.
And you were living in there like the Miami Vice days.
Oh, yeah. I was
really bad.
I had a Cubano threaten to kill me, man.
Yes.
And he was not Tony Montana. He was named Enrique. I don't remember what Enrique's last name was, but he did tell me he was going to kill me.
Oh, that's nice.
Oh, yeah. I fired him. Because I caught him doing blow on the counter in the store.
Are you serious?
I'm dead serious.
That sounds like a movie scene.
It was Miami in the mid-'80s.
And that's why he said he's going to come back after you?
Well, he came back about, 6 or 8 hours later. And,
dang.
Hey, man. Hey, man. What do you want to say? I'm like, what? And he goes, you see that Colombian over there? And I looked at him, and there was a Colombian dude standing I guess he was Colombian. He was standing at a payphone. I'm going to have him kill you.
Oh, isn't that nice?
Yeah. That was a threat.
That was
a threat.
Cell phones.
And Antifa wasn't even around then.
No.
Just Enrique.
Should have called Sonny Croc.
Like, what's he going to do? He's an actor. Was he going to show up with a fake gun? Blanks?
One of my producers and actually my makeup artists at Fox used to do makeup for Miami Vice. And she said one time we had a softball game, a charity softball game. And Don Johnson actually showed up. This is when the show first started.
Was he inebriated?
No, he was not inebriated. But he just missed having...
I already had a problem with that.
Yeah, really, among other things. He had a Miami Vice problem. But apparently, while he was in the outfield, somebody hit a ball that took a bad bounce and just missed his face by about a foot. And he started screaming, "This face is worth millions! You can't!" And everybody's like, "Oh,
yeah." But so were your legs. Did you have your legs insured when you were at Fox?
No, not like Mary.
Mary Hart.
Mary Hart did.
Yeah.
Mine are nicer than hers, actually.
I agree.
Were not anymore. Got to ride a little bit.
I don't
Get back
know.
in shape.
Those legs are pretty nice,
Age
Donna. But let's
catches up
not get into all of this on the air here.
But
You
anyhow,
know,
that was why she actually left.
So-
Miami,
so-
came up to New York to do makeup.
I told Enrique. Let me tell you what I told Enrique.
tell him?
I said, Enrique, bring it on. Bring it on, Enrique. Bring it on.
I guess he figured you.
I wonder what he's doing now. I wonder if he's alive.
Probably not. So let's look at the hashtag double standard. This is what I wanted to talk about once we kind of didn't go off on that tangent. Hashtag double standard is about all I have been tweeting lately. I'm going to repeat it as if you don't hear Russia, Russia, Russia enough, you got to hear hashtag double standard, hashtag double standard, hashtag double standard. And we're going to talk to Denise Simon and Tom Del Beccaro about this at the last hour of the show. Let them go at it because Tom is a lawyer. Again, he ran for Senate against Kamala Harris. And I'm telling you, if he were in Georgia, he would be a senator right now. And you wouldn't have Kamala Harris, but unfortunately, he lives in California, and that's not the case.
But if the queen had balls,
Yeah.
she'd be king, Donna.
And of course, Denise Simon
Can
of
I
the
say that on
Founders
the air?
Code and Political, you just did, and politicalvanguard.com, which is Tom's website. And the two of them kind of go at it because Denise is, she's kind of got her ideas about things, and Tom does too. But great insight. And we'll be
They're both
talking then.
strong-willed,
Yes.
intelligent, knowledgeable, good people.
Yes.
And when you put two people like that in a room together, you have a brawl.
Yeah, in a way.
That's the way it is.
In a way.
It's a brawl.
And a lot
How
of
do you
good
say that up
information.
north?
A brawl. A brawl.
Very good, Donna.
All right, this past weekend was the one-year anniversary of the Charlottesville tragedy. This was all started about the removal of the Robert E. Lee statue, which, by the way, is still up. It's one of the few statues that hasn't been taken down yet, and they have all kinds of scaffolding around it and stuff and fencing around it so people can't touch it. Anyhow, but Antifa continues to show that it is they that are the violent ones, by the way. NBC had a news crew there that was attacked by Antifa thugs, and the NBC crew ignored reporting it. They didn't want to report it. This shows how in the tank for the left, in my opinion, the media has become. Remember our friends Charlie Kirk and Candace Owens were attacked also toward the end of last week, just trying to have breakfast at 8 a.m. in Philadelphia.
I heard Candace was a white supremacist.
Yeah, and then they're yelling, blankety blank white supremacist, and she's black. I mean, this is just the stupidest thing. These people are unbelievable. And they're trying to force them, bait them, really, into taking a swing at him. And Charlie is not a little guy. And Charlie just kind of took it. They threw water in his face. They insulted him. But to sit there and yell, blankety blank white supremacist, blankety blank, to a black woman, I mean, you just can't. Don't they realize how stupid and absurd they look? I mean, it really is stupidity at its finest. It really is. It's just crazy.
I know how stupid they look to me.
Yeah, really. So the media also, of course, was the go-between with this phony Russian collusion fiasco. So if you just go on any mainstream media site, all you see essentially is an anal exam for Donald Trump and his administration and basically a pass for everybody else. So I just went on, before we started to do our headlines here, I went on, like Google, and then, their headlines pop up, and a couple other websites like that. So this is the headlines that I see right off the bat. Sean Spicer refutes Omarosa's claim that he's being paid to praise Trump. By the way, Omarosa, said that Trump said the N-word repeatedly. So she had said that was not the case when she was fired, but she wants to sell a book now. So I guess
Well,
that's
let me stop right there a second, Donna. Ladies and gentlemen, if you worked in an environment where your boss was laying out racial slurs, regardless of whether you're black, white, Asian, Hispanic, whatever you are, and your boss is laying out that type of vile language, offensive language, why would you work there? Why would you not quit? But instead, she gets ejected from the White House. She's fired.
And she makes secret recordings as well.
Can you say
Which is illegal.
disgruntled employee?
Yeah, that wants to sell
Let me
a
say
book.
it like my little character that hey man, would you call her like a disgruntled employee?
That wants to sell books. But the thing is, these are the headlines, okay? Sean Spicer refutes Omarosa's claim that he's being paid to praise Trump. Kellyanne Conway can't name an African American in the White House staff. A poll says that Trump is disliked as strongly as Richard Nixon was before he resigned. Trump's tweets fixate on women's appearances. And Michael Cohen denies a claim that Trump chewed up paper after a meeting. Hey, you know, if it's cupcake paper, I used to chew that when I was a kid. I loved to eat that paper. The paper inside the cupcakes. That stuff tasted good to chew on. I love that.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I used to chew the paper in the cupcakes. I did that.
I just ate the cupcake.
No.
And then I'd take the little paper.
No.
And I'd throw it away.
No, you can't throw the paper away. The
Why?
paper's the best part.
Who the hell eats paper?
It makes the cupcake last longer.
Can the human body digest paper?
Well, I kind of spit the paper out after a while, but there's some of the cupcakes still in there. So you get every last drop. Crumb.
The things we learn about Donna Fiducia on Cowboy Logic Radio are mind-numbing, ladies and gentlemen.
There's nothing, of course, about, now I sound like Sean Hannity, record low Black and Hispanic unemployment
Yeah, but do it like
rate,
Sean does.
Lower taxes, 4% growth. Obama had never even near 2%. How many millions less on food stamps and blah, 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 blah.
Uranium.
I've heard it a million times.
Uranium. Uranium 1.
But you know what?
Come on, Sean.
But the thing is, I don't mind he's doing that, if he's doing that.
I do. I'm tired of it.
Well, you're tired of it.
Let me tell you, Donna. Let me tell you how tired of it.
But nobody else hears it, honey. Nobody else trumpets this at all.
Let's take a poll, ladies and gentlemen. How many of you think that Sean Hannity is a broken record?
No.
Nice guy, but a broken record.
Hey, you know what? He's the lone voice in the wilderness. I'm sorry. And his people. Because right now, they're the Woodward and Bernstein, as far as I'm concerned. And I worked with Greg Jarrett. I never would have thought Greg Jarrett had that much to offer, but apparently he does.
He does.
Guy.
I like him.
You want to talk about nice guy.
Like
That's
But
Greg Jarrett.
you did co-anchor with him quite a bit.
On numerous occasions.
And it was like tough, wasn't it?
Well, he's just kind of just...
It's like watching paint dry.
No, but he's
until
really
he gets
nice
on a legal
guy.
issue.
Well,
he was out of his
legal.
element.
Exactly, and that's why Fox made him a legal as opposed to an anchor at this point, and rightly so. And now he's got a.
Would you consider him to be a legal analyst or a legal?
I think he knows what he's talking about, and his
so that's
book
an
is
eagle.
Very good, and probably unlike most hosts, he probably wrote his own book. I think Judge Janine wrote her own book too, but I can honestly tell you that's not the case in a lot of these instances. But
hey, so was Judge Janine in a limousine riding into work when she was on with us?
I think she was actually.
She wasn't driving herself, was she?
No.
No, don't be silly, Don.
Well, no, she probably doesn't mind driving herself, but if you've got a 2-hour commute, it gives you a chance to kind of get some work done.
Donna. Hello, Donna. I have a 2-hour commute
you don't count.
every day into Atlanta. Why don't I count?
You just don't count.
Why not?
You're not Judge Janine or Greg Jarrett, for that matter. I think Hannity drives himself. He goes through a Cadillac Escalade every year.
Hannity studies martial arts, and he could kick somebody's butt. How many times has he told you that on his show, Donna?
That's true.
Yeah.
All right.
You don't see Tucker Carlson talking about that kind of stuff, do you?
No, you really don't.
Yeah.
There are other things about.
What about who's your little buddy on Saturday night? We gotta watch him. Yeah. No.
I mean, Greg Gutfeld.
Gutfeld.
He came after me, although my producer works on his show, and
Who came after you?
Gutfeld wasn't there when I was there.
Oh, I thought you meant he came after you. Like, no, I'm gonna get you, Donna.
No. I mean, he came to Fox after I left.
Okay.
So I didn't really know him. But
He's a little guy, though, isn't he?
I think he's great.
He's like the size of Wee Man.
I know he's not.
I wonder if Gutfeld's ever run around in his underwear or butt naked through Fox News like Wee Man does.
You're going to make me start saying things I shouldn't be saying.
Like
it's
what?
Bad enough I said the studio was cold because of Shepard Smith.
No. We're not going there. Nothing. No sexual innuendos. Come on. This is a family show.
No, that's fine. I loved working there. I absolutely loved working there.
When's the last time you thought about Ron Phillips?
Last week when I was having internet problems. Why?
I just figured I'd change direction on you. Throw you a curveball from out there.
Ron, maybe there's a reason why I don't have internet. No, don't bother him. You always bother him.
Yeah, I talk to Ron. I talk to Ron a couple of times a week, and he's got a lot of exciting things going on. Yeah. Sadly, confidentiality agreement, non-disclosure. I can't talk about it.
Maybe soon, though.
There's a lot of stuff I know, ladies and gentlemen, that I can't talk about.
Maybe soon?
I can't tell you that,
You don't even tell me.
No, I can't talk about it.
Well, let's talk
I'm
about
sworn
other
to secrecy.
Technical issues. Georgia primary had 670 ballots in apparently cast in a precinct with only 276 registered voters.
How does that happen, Donna? Is that the one in Habersham County?
And they wonder how they keep finding ballots in Ohio. They found
Was that in
boxes.
Habersham County,
Yes,
Georgia?
It was. Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, for those of you that aren't in the state of Georgia, this is like the last county before you leave Georgia and go into either South Carolina or Tennessee. I mean, it's way up in the northeast corner of the state.
It's the Mud Creek precinct in northeast Georgia, Habersham County.
I've heard a lot about that precinct. I'm going to tell you, Donna. Let me tell you. Donna, let me tell you about that Mud Creek precinct. Let me tell you what goes on there. Let me tell you. A lot of funny math goes on there, Donna.
Well, it's a 243% turnout.
That's big. That's big no matter where you live.
Hey, you know, if you have 276 registered voters, that's actually probably more than our little town. It probably is.
We have like 276 people.
People, exactly. And so when you go in there to vote, you think, how can they mess this up? But Georgia is one of 4 states that do not use paper ballots. See, this is scary. Voters arrived and were told to go elsewhere to vote. They'd go over there to vote and then find out the vote was never cast there or it was cast somewhere
I see how
else.
this works.
Yeah, but this is
You know, when
scary
I go
stuff,
into
'cause
our
there is
voting
a lot
precinct
of-
here in Little Roopville,
What?
hi, Don. That's what they say to me.
You still have to show a voter ID, though.
Of course I do.
A picture ID, rather.
And I go,
Picture
what's
ID.
up, Meemaw? Hold on, let me get my ID out for you, Meemaw. Hang on. There you go. Thank you, Don. Right over there. And I go, where? And there's one voting thing over there. There's one little thing. And I go, you want me to vote on this one?
Card, like a little credit card you put in.
Yeah, they give you a credit card or a little plastic
like a little
card.
plastic thing looks like a credit card.
And then when I'm all done, they go, bye, Don. See you in 2 years. Bye-bye now.
You know, I didn't
See
know
ya,
what
Meemaw.
I didn't know what a Meemaw or a Papaw was until I moved down here.
Now you know. Everybody's got a Meemaw and a Papaw.
I see.
You notice that? Everybody. And a big shout out to all the Meemaws and Papaws out there. We love you, and without you, we wouldn't have future Meemaws and Papaws.
Man, I just, I thought they were Gagaws or whatever, Gramps.
That's what my kids call my mom.
Gramps.
Gaga.
Yep.
Because Lee couldn't say grandma.
So you get Gagaw?
Gaga. Gaga. Gaga.
And it sticks.
Yeah.
And to this day, you refer to what the kids used as words 20 or 30 years later, and the kids know exactly what you're saying.
Yeah.
They understand it.
Oh,
Thomas
yeah.
couldn't say blanket, so he said gawky. And
Do you know how
couldn't
much
say water.
our sons are going to appreciate the fact that we're talking about this over the radio?
This is a kid who's in law school right
Yeah.
now. He couldn't say water.
Hey,
so-
you guys remember the time you pooped in the tub? You don't? I do.
But, if he couldn't say water, he said blow blow. And one time he got blow blow on his gawky. So I knew exactly what he said. He got water on his blanket.
Well, now we all do. Boy, he's not going to talk to you for about 6 months. Ladies and gentlemen, we've got a fantastic show coming up for you. We've got a young man that is in high school, and he is going to share his story about what high school life is like as a conservative.
Yes.
He'll be coming up in the second, right after the break here.
James
the second.
Stevenson.
Yep. Well, we've changed his
His name has been changed to protect the innocent.
And then at the top of the hour, we're going to battle it out.
Denise Simon and Tom Del Beccaro coming up next. So stay tuned. More Cowboy Logic Radio right after this.
Woo-hoo!
Check us out on the web at cowboylogic.us.
Hi, thank you for listening. My name is Ron Phillips, and I'm the owner and operations manager of Talk America Radio. It is with great pride that I offer you this 24/7 stream of some of the finest talk radio programming in the country, but I need your support. We are a listener-supported network. That means we need your help to continue to offer the quality programming you're hearing right now. If you're able, please visit talkamericaradio.us and click the Support Us button. Your donation will go a long way in helping us continue to share the American voice. Thank you.
Hello and welcome to the Chronicles of Lower Education with me, the Fed Up Professor. Leftist academics tend to be killjoys, and a recent example of this fact really bums me out. There's this kick-ass annual academic conference called the International Congress on Medieval Studies. It's in Kalamazoo, Michigan. which focuses on all things medieval European and Middle Eastern history, literature, culture, art. 3,000 attendees have their choice of hundreds of fascinating panel presentations on, say, Joan of Arc or Norse mythology's influence on Tolkien's breathtaking Lord of the Rings trilogy, women and religious minorities in 15th century Spain, Sufi poetry, Jewish Christian studies, Crusade-era coinage in the Holy Land. It's a brainy Renaissance fair for historians who like to have fun. Some even dress in period costume, which just adds hilarity to an enriching weekend hobnobbing with brilliant people equally as geeked out on history as I. Enter Babel, a humorless, victim-conscious organization whose mission is to impose present-mindedness in medieval studies, bringing the medieval and modern into productive critical relation. They recently demanded that the Medieval Congress include such irrelevant and uninspiring panels as How to be a White Ally in Medieval Studies Classes, or Gender Intersectionality in Medieval Studies. See, these panel proposals didn't make the cut in last year's program. I can't imagine why. But Babel blames the current political climate in the U.S. and abroad, threatening to withdraw financial support of the Medieval Congress if it doesn't become a site of resistance against the darker forces of nationalism and academic freedom. Did you catch that? Academic freedom is a dark force, which must be quashed everywhere with enlightened coercion, which is exactly how I became the Fed Up Professor. See you next week.
This is Don NEUEN, co-host of the Drive Time Sit Rep. Join me as I call in my Intel analyst, Denise Simon, for my daily situation report, or Sit Rep, the Drive Time Sit Rep. Check talkamericaradio.us for more information and show times.
Welcome back to Cowboy Logic Radio. I'm Donna Fiducia, typically also along with Don NEUEN, but that is not the case. Don is like noodling around in the studio because we need his mic for the kid that I'm about to interview because he's here in the studio with us. Now, I'm going to just say his name is James Stevenson. I guess because, like they say on television, the names have been changed to protect the innocent. Because James, well, first of all, welcome, James, to Cowboy Logic Radio. How you doing, honey?
Good, how are you?
Okay, now tell me what grade you're in.
Okay, I'm a rising sophomore, or I am a sophomore right now.
Okay, school just started in the Atlanta area. Okay, which is weird to me coming from the Northeast because school starts the week after Labor Day. I mean, we still had a whole nother month. It's too hot to go back to school, but that's another story. All right, but the whole idea of having James on for the show is his parents were visiting and they came to the farm. We started talking and then we actually started talking a little more about your experiences in school. Now, do you go to a public school or a private school?
I go to a public school.
Okay. So you are rising. What grade did you say? You just started?
Sophomore year.
Okay, sophomore. So you've got a couple more years before you have to go to college. Now, to me, at this point, you should really be learning the 3 R's, reading, writing, arithmetic. I mean, while you're out in the barn with me over the weekend, we were talking, we were taking care of the horses. It blows my mind, some of the things you were saying. And the fact that even at your age, you have to sort of watch what you say in class, because if you're politically averse or adverse, I should say, to what the teacher thinks, you could be in trouble.
Yeah.
All right. So give us an example of what, there's a paper you wrote that you thought you didn't get as good a grade on. What was the subject matter of that? You got like a C on it or something because you thought the teacher didn't agree with you?
Well, there's a lot of subjects and like writings that are just very guided towards what they want and not what you actually want to say. Mm-hmm. So if you don't give them what you want, then they'll kind of be biased towards when they're grading. And so it will affect your grade if you don't write what they want. So you just have to write what they want to give them what they want.
This is in history class for the most part?
Yeah, it's usually in history.
All right, so how about when the election came around? So we'll go back another year and a half. When the election came around, Did they talk a lot about the election in some of your history classes?
Yeah, so I was at a different school at the time, so they were just talking about how the world could be changed if Donald Trump becomes president. So they were just like saying like this could be it basically.
It's the end of the world as we know it, but I feel fine. That's
Yeah.
a song well past. You were probably minus 10 years old at the time when that one came out. All right, so here's the deal. What really gets me is I also have a friend who has kids in the Atlanta area, and he said his daughter actually came home crying when Donald Trump got elected because the teachers are trying to instill this fear of anything that might be conservative or might be Republican. Is that pretty much what you were seeing?
Yeah, there's a lot of that. I think that like the people who are conservative are just, they're very vocal, so you hear a lot of what they have to say.
The ones that are not conservative.
Yes.
And so the ones who are conservative are the ones that might actually have a little common sense like yourself. You're almost forced to keep your feelings to yourself.
Yes.
Did you have any friends at all that are in private schools?
Yeah, I know some friends that are in private school.
Do they have the same problem?
Yeah, I would say it's the same problem throughout schools in the area.
All right. So, in fact, we also know Kenny Kakady, whose father runs Conservative Review Radio. We've had him on. We call him like Mark Levin Jr. He's told us that he went to a Catholic school, and he was seeing it even in like more religious schools. It's almost like an indoctrination. What would happen if you said to your teacher, well, you know, Donald Trump, you know, God forbid, has the lowest black and Hispanic unemployment rate in history? I mean, could you say that to him, and would they chastise you, do you think?
I just think that if I said that, they would come up with some other argument that they have and just say that's not correct, or they would try to change the subject or do something to avoid
the actual.
What they have brainwashed into us is like none of this is true. So if I were to say this, it would just be it's just something that they would never expect us to hear. So
facts don't matter.
No.
It's only feelings.
Yes.
Do you have other friends that feel the same way that you do? Because I know Don's kids and my kids felt the same way. Of course, they're out of college now, but they were a little bit older, so it wasn't quite so bad back then. It seems that since Trump got elected, the teachers are in overdrive to try to push back as much as possible.
Yeah, I would say most of my friends don't even talk about politics because we know how much of like an issue it is. So I would just say it's just mostly you just try to keep to yourself about things.
See, this is what blows my mind because you're so young. You shouldn't have to worry about politics. You're in high school. You've got 2 more years of high school. You're supposed to be getting ready for college. And it just seems to me that they're learning more of how to be good little, liberals than actually being able to compete. Do you have any... I'm going to sound totally politically incorrect now. Do you have any friends that might have immigrated from another country or know anybody in your classrooms that... like Indian kids or Chinese kids, because to me, their education and their parents stress education so much more that they're light years ahead of our kids.
Yeah, I would say our school is very diverse, so there's a lot of people, but I don't think they'd say if they're from, if they migrated, so it's just very...
So, because to me, what's happening by dumbing down our public education system, this is something you shouldn't have to worry about. By dumbing down our public education system... and then having an open immigration policy and allowing these kids who are pretty educated to come in from Pakistan or India or China, and other countries where they do value education a little better, I feel, than we have now in this country. They're not, this country's so dumbed down that they're going to take these jobs away. And that's why all of a sudden you hear there's not enough skilled labor, force out there to fill these jobs that suddenly have been created by that horrible human being named Donald Trump. Can't you be a kid? That's what I want to know. I mean, are you not allowed to be a kid? It's terrible.
Yeah, I guess because you're stuck to these political sayings and what you have to do, you kind of have to be stuck with it. So you can't be anything other than what they want you to be. So there's no getting around.
Now, you talk about this with your parents at all?
Yeah, I do.
And basically, I think the feeling, I would feel this way anyhow, is if you make waves, it's just going to make it harder on you.
Yes.
All right. So, okay. So in the one class that you had where you wrote the paper you said that you didn't get a very good grade on, what exactly did you say that you got, like, a C or something? And you're a smart kid.
Yeah, I would say if you just go off course of what they're trying to say, because they kind of like tell you what to say, and if you kind of write any opinion that goes against what they have to say, they won't like it. And I guess it's just kind of, it's kind of biased towards them because, like, they're the ones grading it, and you're the ones who have to agree whatever they say. So,
what in particular did you do you think, that was a little more conservative, I guess, that would make you not get a very good grade in this case?
I would say...
What did you say?
There's a lot of... Every essay, I always have an example. So I think it was... We had an example over whether to mine crude oil in Alaska. And I said yes. Or the one-child policy. Just things like these.
You talk about the one-child policy in China?
Yes.
You talk about that?
We talk all about it.
Seriously?
Yes.
And what do the teachers say?
They say, well, they talk about population, when the population is increasing and the issues that are coming with that, and how there's going to be a breaking point at some point, or it's just going to get too much that the world can't handle it.
Humankind. You can't even say mankind anymore.
No.
Humankind is bad, right?
Humankind,
it's
yes.
horrible. And we're killing the earth.
Yes.
So the one-child policy is good.
That's sort of what they talked about, yes.
I wonder why they don't go over to China to live if China's so great, or Cuba, or now Venezuela, where they're eating zoo animals to live. I mean, God forbid they actually look at facts. This is just unbelievable. We're talking to James Stevenson. Again, his name has been changed to protect the innocent, because I want to talk about public education and exactly how far gone it really has. And it's not even public education anymore. It's private education, everything. It's not education, it's indoctrination. Now, when I was your age, I talk like my mother, when I was your age, we used to laugh at the Soviet Union, because the Soviet Union, or Russia, whatever you'd want to call it, pretty much did this to their children. It was total indoctrination and propaganda. And I used to think, boy, we don't have that. We're learning the facts. And what's happened is it's just to me, the teachers, since they don't have to work in the private sector, and once they're tenured, that's it. They gain 30 pounds and dye their hair purple, They seem to just be able to get more and more brazen with each generation. And this really has been starting back in the 1900s with a president named Woodrow Wilson. I don't know if... have you learned about him at all?
No.
Yeah, of course not. That figures. Okay, James, I want to move on a little bit more, though. Besides the fact that you have to be politically correct, you're also an entrepreneur.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about your business that you've done.
So I just buy things from the local thrift store and sell it at a higher price, and I just make money off of it. So it's a simple business you can do at home.
You sell it on eBay?
Yes.
You buy it at your local...
Evil capitalist!
Don has to put his 2 cents in. Yes, you are an evil capitalist. There you go. So you're buying stuff at the local thrift store for less money, pennies on the dollar, but you know what to look for, right? So
Yes.
You know what everybody wants because you're in tune. I guess you see it on Instagram or whatever that you go on and people talk about the types of clothes they want. You can find them at these thrift stores. You buy them for pennies on the dollar and then you sell them on
Yes.
eBay. Mm-hmm. How hilarious is that? I mean, I think it's really terrible that you are absolutely an entrepreneur. Shame on you.
Yes.
How much, okay, so last week, how much did you make?
At least around 200. So
In
it's a
one
good
week?
Yes.
Okay, so what do you think would happen if you told your teacher that you did that? Would you be an evil capitalist, right?
Most likely, yes.
Okay, then she'd probably say, don't you think you need to give all your money to the other students?
Probably. I'm taking away from the economy. It's not good.
It's too funny. I love it. All right, so let me ask you this. Going ahead now, as you go into school, and you've just started this school year, do you feel even more so like you have to really watch yourself even more? Are you getting pressure from other students as well?
Yeah, there's a lot of pressure. I think the craziest thing that school and especially history classes are doing now is we don't even use textbooks anymore in history class. So it's just based off PowerPoints that they use, so they can use anything that they want, and it kind of guides towards like these important topics, and like the class will discuss, and obviously the class is just answering their way, nothing the far right way. So it's just like you can't really say anything, because if you say something, it's totally against what they're saying. So there's no way you can say something without getting looks.
So in other words, you're taught by PowerPoint. So you're not even looking at like a World Book Encyclopedia like I used to have, or a textbook that actually might have the history of the United States in it, in its whole, entirety, or at least snippets of it. They're actually telling you exactly what you have to learn, and that's it.
They take parts from the book that they want to talk about and just put it into PowerPoints, and they discuss it, and we have to write exactly what they say. So
you're basically regurgitating like a good little communist. That's pretty much what it is. This is really distressing to me, because it also means you can't think for yourself. They're not telling you how to actually look at ideas and be able to assess problems on your own.
Yeah, so I think if you think your way, it will be wrong on the test, because the answer is actually what they want. So you kind of have to think what they want in order to do also well on tests. So I think it's just listening to your teacher and learning.
God, they really need to do away with tenure. There was another test.
I want to interject a question.
Uh-oh.
Hello, everyone. I'm Don NEUEN, and I have a question for young James. James, first of all, you are, in my opinion, light years in front of many of the kids that are your age. Hat tip to you. You're on the ball. And ladies and gentlemen, we've had James here this weekend, and we've enjoyed conversations just like this about all areas of politics. This kid is astute, and he's far ahead of his age. James, my question for you is this. Clearly, you're not getting the proper education at your school system, and that's safe to say, in many areas. Some you may be. Where are you getting these well-grounded morals and ethics and, your moral compass that you display so well? Where are you getting that from if you're not getting it from school?
Well, I think...
Do you listen to Cowboy Logic Radio often?
Every day.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, James. Back to you, Donna.
No, he doesn't.
No.
Okay, so usually I'll go on the internet and I'll watch videos on subjects that we're learning about, and usually the videos I watch are based on facts, and the facts tell otherwise of what they're teaching, so it makes more sense to me, and I kind of geared toward the facts rather than what they say, because there's proof, and I think the proof is what I learn from.
God forbid you might have an inquisitive mind and want to open your mind a little bit more. Yeah. I would venture to say your parents have a huge role in that as well.
Yes.
So that really helps. And the thing that really bothers me is the fact there's no alternative for your parents. Unless you have a ton of money, you can go to private school or whatever. And even then, as we found out with some other kids we've talked to, it's the same. Catholic schools, it's the same. It is the education system at all. And there are very few parents who have the time to homeschool. I would venture to say, though, James, that you probably could be homeschooled on your own very easily, because you're smart enough you could read and learn on your own. And see, even to say that you go on the internet and can Google something, that's being censored too. Google actually said that they are not going to work with the Pentagon and with our military because of the situation that they are anti-military. And yet they've also said they're going to work with China, and they're going to limit their searches and able to get into the Chinese market. So what does that tell you?
I think it just tells you how much they're scared of sort of facts. They don't like hearing what we have to say, so they're going to use their power to use things to make the new generation learn about the far lefts, because if they can do it, if they have the power, they'll use it, and I think they are.
See, what really gets me, and this is kind of heartening in a way, is that black voters are looking more at Donald Trump. In fact, I think he went from 13% up to 29% favorability rating among blacks, because there are enough people out there that do have common sense, realize this country was about to go to you-know-what in a handbasket, and that to have the lowest black and Hispanic unemployment rate in history, the lowest for women in 65 years, and it's creating more and more jobs. And, well, I don't know if you know about all the other things like the tax structure being redone and everything like that. More businesses are coming back and reopening. And there's a soundbite of Obama a couple of years ago going, "No, those businesses are gone. And they're just not coming back, and you got to, put up with that." Well, that's not the case. Donald Trump said he's going to deliver, and he's done it in only a year and a half so far. And that's what's so frustrating to me, because 98% of what the media says about him is negative. How do you fight that? How do you fight that against a teacher that's going to say 98% negative about Donald Trump? I mean, what if you were to say to your teacher, look at some of the facts here. Look what Donald Trump's done. What do you think they'd say to you?
I think the power of opinions can far outweigh facts. So what they think outweighs the facts. So if they believe something enough, it becomes the truth, and they won't even consider it to be true. So I think they'll continue just believing what they think, not thinking about the facts.
The power of opinion outweighs facts. That's pretty deep to come from a kid who's in high school. That's very deep. He really, I really think unless you can be homeschooled, you really, and have the common sense that you have. Otherwise, we're really doomed. I hate to say it, that we are so doomed with the future generations unless kids can really turn around. Charlie Kirk is a good friend of ours. He runs an organization called Turning Point USA. Man, I'd love to get you in touch with him, because he's exactly what he's trying to do. Is to wake up people to the fact on campuses and also in high schools that this is happening. And he's been heartened by the fact that there are more and more kids like you that just know enough to do enough to get along, go along to get along, and maybe when they get out in the workforce, that would change. Do you feel that you're going to be okay and you can deal with it? I mean, it's got to be tough. I don't know how you do it.
If I keep giving them what they want and knowing that what is really true, I think I can just get by and giving them what they want without them realizing that I'm the other way. So if I can just make it through, I'll be there. So
another 4 years of college then, and maybe grad school as well.
Yeah.
What? We only have about a minute left.
I got one more question.
Uh-oh, we only got a minute left.
Do you feel like you're a minority?
It's hard to say, because
Politically, a minority. With your peers, with your other students?
Are there a lot of kids that feel like you but are afraid to say anything?
there's tons. The people who speak out are the ones who are saying Donald Trump is terrible. So I have not heard anyone in a single classroom talk good about Donald Trump. So I would say I am part of the minority because the minority isn't speaking about how good Donald Trump is.
Yeah, that's true. The minority is not speaking out, but you think there's more of them than you think?
There is, but
good. Well, that's certainly good to hear. And we'll keep our fingers crossed that that's the case. But you are an entrepreneur. Think about this, folks. Buys things from thrift stores and flips it for more money. Made $200 last week. I'm sorry. That's pretty darn good if you ask me. James Stevenson, keep up the good fight. And maybe we should get you in touch with Charlie Kirk, Turning Point USA, because it's kids like you that are trying to turn this country around. Thank you so much for joining us, honey, on
Thank
Cowboy
you.
Logic Radio, and for speaking out.
That
Wow.
interview, ladies and gentlemen, took place. When did that take place, Donna? Maybe a week ago? Week and a half ago? Mm-hmm. Something like that. It was amazing to have that young man spend some time with us. And, sadly, we can't tell you who he is. We can't disclose his name because he might not make it out of high school, at least without being ostracized the entire, remaining time.
What is he, a junior? He's a junior now.
He's a junior
Just
now.
started his junior year. Think of a kid that age saying something like, quote, "The power of opinion outweighs the facts."
Yeah, that was super profound.
I expected, like, Spock to say something like that,
Yeah.
Captain Kirk.
Well, I got to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, we can't tell you who he is. We're not going to tell you who he is. But it was an absolute pleasure being able to spend time with him. And, while he was doing that interview, I went up to his dad and I said, you got to be proud. You got to be proud of him. And he absolutely is. The bottom line is that child is the product of two great parents. And that's the kind of thing you find with a lot of conservative kids. They're the product of their parents.
But what's really sad is that kids who don't have an upbringing like that really only learn what a professor or a teacher tells them. They don't even have textbooks anymore. They have talking points.
Well, they're PowerPoints.
PowerPoints, which is
that
ridiculous.
was amazing to hear. Is that these kids, and the thing is, Donna, you remember a few years ago when Lee was in high school out here at Holy Ground Baptist Academy, and I read through his world history book, and I got to the section about U.S. history, or where it talked about, the founding of America, and it was an amazing, positive feeling that I had.
And it was accurate.
Yeah, it was accurate. But then again, Holy Ground Baptist Academy follows the Abeka system.
Which
it's
is
a
a
homeschooling
system.
Yeah, curriculum.
We saved that textbook as a reference.
Yeah. The thing is, you've got this young man that we just interviewed going to a public school, which right there he's screwed, unless he's got the intellect to be able to get around that system, which is exactly what he said he was going to do. I'm going to lay low and get out of here.
And he shouldn't have to do that because the thought of ideas and the openness of ideas should flourish in academia. And it doesn't. Just like our fed up professor says, they get tenured, they gain 30 pounds, and they dye their hair purple. And these people will never get a job in the private sector. No. And they're making kids like these Antifa kids who have no idea what it's like in the private sector to have a job or to make money or capitalism. If anything, they're anti-capitalists. And it's scary because, and I hate to say it, that is your Russian collusion right there.
Well,
That's
you can't
your
be
Russian
a capitalist
interference right there.
and have as your desire in life to live off the system.
But the point is, this is what Marxism and communism, quite frankly, has infiltrated into our public education system. And there you have it. But for a kid to say something like the power of opinion outweighs the facts, and I normally close the show with a quote, and I know I'm not going to have time to do it because once we get in with Denise Simon and Tom Del Beccaro, I'll never do that.
I'm going to have to
But
edit
listen
it
to this.
down.
This is Voltaire. This is a quote from Voltaire. And besides being a great Dutch warm-blood stallion, this is the other Voltaire. It's dangerous to be right in matters where established men are wrong. And that's essentially what he said.
Yeah.
The power of opinion outweighs the facts.
Well, this kid is on the ball. Hat
Future
tip to him.
Voltaire.
Hat tip to him for being for having the courage and the
guts, really,
to
come forward
to
and talk
actually
about it.
go outside the box. That was what was so impressive. The kid goes outside the box to learn where his teachers are failing him.
And all we can say is we hope more parents out there or mentors can talk to kids and say, this is how it is, and this might not be what life is like, but you're going to have to put up with it for now. All right, Denise Simon and Tom Del Beccaro coming up next on Cowboy Logic Radio.
Check us out on the web at cowboylogic.us.
Hello, everyone. I'm Donna Fiducia.
And I'm Don Neuen, and this is Cowboy Logic Radio.
Cowboys didn't dance, didn't wear designer shirts. When their hearts were filled with memories, their bodies filled with hurt. They would sit around the campfire and exchange a piercing glares. Back when the West was really wild, cowboys didn't dance.
Welcome back to Cowboy Logic Radio. I'm Donna Fiducia, along with Don Neuen. And ladies and gentlemen, the boxing match is about to begin. This is all I can say.
Well, I don't know, Donna. Over the break here, while we were getting these two people on with us, it seemed like I was the one that was the punching bag.
This is true. It's possible. You might be the Rocky of this whole thing.
I might be.
You might be the Rocky, as opposed to the Mick, the referee.
Cut me, Mick. Cut me.
We are referring to Tom Del Beccaro and Denise Simon, two of the most dynamic hosts that we have and spokespeople that we have, in my opinion. Okay, well, ladies first, Tom, okay? Denise
Tom
Simon.
lives in San Francisco. Tom lives in San Francisco, and he's suffering from male whatever that is.
White supremacy.
I'm Don Neuen.
Hi, Don. Hey, Denise, who is your favorite talk radio show host?
Don Neuen.
Checks in the mail, Denise. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, ladies first.
Couldn't pay me enough.
Denise Simon is host of the Denise Simon Experience, heard Thursday nights, 9 to 11 p.m. on our network. Her website is founderscode.com. That's FOUNDERS, code.com.
And she's the co-host of...
Well, hold on. I'm getting there. She's a contributor to Tom Del Beccaro's website, politicalvanguard.com. She is the go-to authority for all the latest cutting-edge information, starting with all the folks you saw for years on the Fox News Channel. And she informs Don on his way home and everybody else with the Drive Time Sit Rep.
That's right, Donna.
AKA the Situation Report. Basically, it's an update as to what's going on because Denise, all she does is read. She's like, if you ever see that movie 3 Days of the Condor, she's like the Robert Redford character who does nothing but read. But the only difference is he got in trouble and they went after him. They haven't done that with Denise yet.
Not yet. Not yet.
How do you know I'm not going after her?
Well, you're a lawyer, so we thought you might be.
Okay. Tom Del Beccaro is the former chairman of the California Republican Party when he's not saying, I'm Don Neuen. He is the author of the book, The Divided Era, which to me is so apropos now more than ever because basically it talks about how at the end of a government or a society, there's a competition for spoils. And I think that's what's going on right now. Also, his other book, The New Conservative Paradigm. You've read him in the Washington Examiner, Breitbart, The Daily Caller, Forbes. His website, as we mentioned, that Denise also contributes to, is politicalvanguard.com. And again, if California had half a brain in their butt, you'd have him as your senator, folks, and not Kamala Harris. And that pretty much says it all because, Tom, every time I see Kamala Harris on the air, I think to myself, what the heck is she saying? I mean, it's just unbelievable.
Well, she doesn't say much of anything. All right, we're going to get this discussion off to a start now, and I'm going to start off with posing both of you a question that I would like you both to weigh in on, ladies first. So, Tom, please feel free to hold tight.
Well, I just want to first say how nice it is to be on with Donna and Denise.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you. See, Denise, you laugh at that. You laughed at that. I'm going to remember this on for the next sit rep. Payback will be vicious. All right. Here's what I want to ask both of you. We have in our federal government principal officers and inferior officers. Principal officers must be appointed, and they have a wide range of authority. An inferior officer does not need to be appointed. They do not have, obviously, as wide of a range. And they also, a principal officer must be confirmed. Now, in my opinion, and many of those, and a big hat tip to Mark Levin, because it's about the only radio show that I listen to, he has been beating this drum quite a bit. He believes that the authority that has been given to Mueller is that of a principal officer of the federal government, when in fact he is not. Denise, I would like to have you weigh in on your thoughts on whether or not you feel that Mueller is exercising the power that would normally be found with a principal officer while he is absolutely not been appointed and confirmed.
The only two things I would say is that Mueller is not the first special counsel that has been assigned. The second thing is because we have a principal officer who has recused himself, deferred that authority to his attorneys general, which gave a memorandum to Mueller. So that makes him or gives him this authority. Now, whether that's all right or wrong, I really am not a lawyer to say so, but it's been done in the past, and because Sessions recused himself, even if he didn't recuse himself, for instance, he, I would imagine, essentially approved the Mueller appointment. But I'm not really equipped to kind of dig into that to see if that's really how that all played out.
Tom?
Well, you probably heard the phrase, the law is what's enforced. And right now, someone has not made that challenge in court, and unless they make that challenge in court, it will be so, and it will be okay for him to do what he is doing. Mm-hmm. And the only person, I think, who will eventually make that argument is Manafort on appeal. If Manafort gets convicted, and, it looks like he may have slightly underestimated his income on his tax return. I say tongue in cheek.
Slightly.
Then he's going to have a host of he's going to say that the Russia probe was the original document. It wasn't satisfactory and violates the Fourth Amendment. He's going to make the argument that you're making, Don. But the really important thing is that unless it's challenged, it's going to be so. And that's the way our system works. People get away with things unless they're challenged. The Republicans under Obama let him get away with a lot of stuff. They did sue him in court a number of times saying you're not allowed to do that. Remember his appointment of the NLRB and things like that. And he lost a whole bunch of cases, 9-0. But unless they pursue it, the law is what is enforced, not what people are doing.
Yeah, but Congress is actually the one that ought to be laying this down. Now, Trump obviously has the power to do it, but the minute Trump enters into this, all of a sudden it's going to be the nail in his coffin impeachment-wise. But
yes, but John, as a legal matter, they have to be standing, and Congress hasn't been injured by this appointment. That's right. This is an executive department appointment. And Congress wouldn't be. It's not the authority of Congress that's necessarily been affected here. It's whoever's suffering under it. Maybe Congress could make the argument that this shouldn't go on without our approval, but someone has to do it. Otherwise, this becomes the law. Meaning that if this goes on for another 100 years of this, it doesn't matter what the founders wanted. The odds are it'll be considered the practice of the government.
Why does Mueller have the authority to question a sitting president in this regard?
That's my whole point.
No parameters, because nobody elected Mueller. 60 million people voted for Trump. This is totally out of hand.
He is acting as a principal officer with the authority and the power that would be given to a principal officer, and no memorandum from the DOJ is going to make him a principal officer. There's no way he can be one. He is an inferior officer, and he's exercising the power.
Don, it's not okay, Don, but until someone goes after him in the courts and gets a ruling to that effect, it's going to be allowed. To answer Donna Fiducia's question, why should he be allowed to question the president? The truth there is that the way it would work if he tried to subpoena him, and that's what matters. Trump either does this voluntarily or is through subpoena. If he does subpoena him, the defense of Trump is, no, you have not demonstrated. He fights the subpoena and says, point one, there is no crime for which I should be involved and questioned. You can't just talk to me under oath. That's number one. And then number two, he will say, even if there was a crime, I am not the one you need to talk to, or I shouldn't be on the front line of this because you can get the information in other manners, other witnesses or through documentation. And he would win that argument at the Supreme Court level.
That's the thing.
And then there's precedence because Clinton was subpoenaed and gave testimony.
Yeah,
but there was an active thing that Clinton was involved in personally. They would have to show that Trump is either personally involved in a real crime they're investigating, and they have to identify it. They can't just say, well, we think he was colluding with Russia, which, by the way, is the defect in the appointment of Mueller. They would have to point to actual crime, number one, and they would have to establish facts that show that this is the only manner in which they could get the information because they can't get it another way.
Well,
and Trump, by the way...
Oh, go ahead.
Trump, by the way, should make this argument to protect the presidency. When you act as the president, you should always act to preserve the powers of the office and not let them be eroded in this manner.
This is what annoys me so much because Rosenstein, whatever his name is, gave huge parameters to this Mueller investigation. Which means, and this is exactly what happens. These tentacles reach everywhere. Now, you got Rudy Giuliani all over television this past weekend. And
which he shouldn't be.
Well, but the point is, this is a very good point he was making, though, Denise. Let's take the case of Amoroso. Amoroso now comes out with a book after she got fired by Trump. She was on, The Apprentice and everything. She said now that Trump said the N-word repeatedly. Now, after denying years ago that was the case, all of a sudden, she has a book she wants to sell. So now let's fast forward. If Trump goes before Mueller under oath, and Mueller says, did you ever say the N-word? And Trump says no. Well, then Mueller can say Trump is lying. This is what's so ridiculous.
Okay,
Mueller can say, who he wants to believe.
Beep.
What?
Assuming that, beep, let's back it up.
Okay.
Assuming that Trump was in the room for questioning, and that's either voluntarily or somehow he lost the subpoena argument that there was no other way to get the information. And Mueller says, did you use the N-word? If I was sitting there, I would say he's not going to answer that question. It's not relevant. Take it up to the Supreme Court. End of story. And that's all that should be done.
And then the media is going to say, see, he probably said the N-word, but he's not going to answer it.
Well,
it's just, this is so stupid.
It's the same thing with Stormy Daniels, right? Who's gone away because there's the media's moved on to someone. We're trying to get someone else.
But that's exactly what's so disheartening, Tom, because the double standard is frightening. You've got hard evidence with Hillary Clinton, and they got blinders on.
It's not blinders. It's worse than that. Mm-hmm. And this is where the boxing match with me and Denise may begin. Okay. It is completely evident that they wanted to let Hillary off and completely evident that they wanted to go after Trump. The latest such evidence is the fact that when the FBI discovered a spy in Dianne Feinstein's presence, they immediately told her and she fired him. Yep. When they discovered, quote, someone who might be doing the wrong thing, spying or being a double agent or whatever with regard to Trump, they just used that to investigate him. They didn't stop him. They didn't go, hey, your guy's doing this, you better think about firing him. No, they used it to investigate him. There's the animus. Just like the other great example is Strzok saying insurance policy, and we better hurry up. The pressure's on to get the Hillary investigation over. And lo and behold, at the same time he says that, he changes the language in the memo, and she's off scot-free. And they didn't put her under oath. And they had Obama endorse someone under FBI investigation. Well, that's not proof the president knew she was going to get off. What is? I could go on and on.
I would like to mention here at this point, the entire core of where we are today began and really ends with Hillary. And I would say that if Trump is a counterpuncher as we keep hearing that he is, then we're not helping him or his legal team or even Sessions, wherever he may be, do this counterpunch. Because let's go back. It was I think it was the Benghazi Commission under Trey Gowdy that discovered that there were no .gov emails on Hillary's server. That's where all of this began. All of it. Because we're still missing some number of emails. Now, let's just kind of fast forward to today. When is the last time that anybody in the media, the good guys and the bad guys, gave us a report on what John Huber is doing? Now, this is an interesting condition because John Huber was appointed by Barack Obama in February of 2015. He tendered his resignation at the request of the Trump administration in March of 2017. Jeff Sessions goes back and says, hey, we have federal vacancies. We need you to come back. So Trump renominated John Huber in June of 2017. He was confirmed in August of 2017. And now what is he doing? Well, he's the one that's supposed to be investigating the FISA warrant on Carter Page and those connections. He's supposed to be investigating the Clinton Foundation and Uranium One. All right. Has anybody said a blasted word about any of that, including, I might add, Jay Sekulow and Rudy Giuliani? The answer to that's no. Where's the counterpunching? All of this is a panic because Trump is a sitting president, and all of this is being played out in the media, except one component, and that is all things Hillary. None of that's being played out in the media. That's where the injustice is, as I see it.
I could not agree with you more. You know, and the thing is, I'm going to read a little bit about the appointment of Mueller and Rosenstein's charging him with the responsibility to do his investigation.
Almost immediately.
Oh, yeah. But hold on. Before you get there, number one, I don't have any problem with Rudy Giuliani. I think he could do a better job. But I don't have any problem with him doing this. The reason why they should do this is the Mueller investigation is wrong. It's corrupt, and they're undermining it so that when Mueller comes out with a hit job, the people don't believe it. That's number one. Number two, I don't know why we don't hear anything about Harlan. Maybe for once, someone's doing their job without it being leaked, and someone's doing it well. It could be. That's not necessarily bad news, in other words.
Well, but we don't hear we haven't seen a single subpoena from this character, have we?
No.
Not one.
And that you know of. That you know of.
And therein lies, if the media was doing their job, they would be tracking those subpoenas. And as far as I'm concerned,
maybe he doesn't want it. Maybe they don't want anybody to know these people are getting subpoenaed.
Yeah, maybe.
Hashtag double standard.
All right. In his order appointing former FBI Director Robert Mueller as special counsel, Rosenstein limited Mueller's role to leading, quote, the investigation confirmed by then FBI Director James Comey in testimony before the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence on March 20th, 2017, including any links and or coordination between the Russian government and individuals associated with the campaign of President Donald Trump, and any matters that arose...
Okay, full stop.
So we can't look at Hillary.
Full stop.
Hold on.
Stop.
Hold on, Tom. And any matters that arose or may arise directly from the investigation, and any other matters within the scope of 28 CFR 600.4A. That last bit refers to a part of the federal code that says that the jurisdiction of a special counsel is to include, quote, the authority to investigate and prosecute federal crimes committed in the course of and with intent to interfere with the special counsel's investigation, such as perjury, obstruction of justice, destruction of evidence, and intimidation of witnesses. Now,
That's the reason why I'm not a lawyer. I have no idea.
Yeah,
what
but
all you
here's the
just
thing.
said.
That is the massively broad power that this guy has been given erroneously, in my opinion. Now, I totally agree with Denise. This all goes back to Hillary. And I think the four of us would probably agree that if Hillary Clinton had been elected, none of this would have ever come to light. Nobody would have been doing any type of an investigation to see how the Russians meddled and colluded with the DNC to get her elected. All of this is being fabricated. Now, granted, we might pull down Manafort. We might pull down Carter Page. These 12 or 15 or however many Russians that were indicted, yeah, nothing will ever come to that. Big hat tip to Mueller for that. The bottom line is this, though. This guy has been given way too much power, and he's been given it unconstitutionally.
Okay, so full stop. Read the language. Read the sentence with Russia in it again for the listeners.
Let me find it. Hold on. Any links and or coordination between the Russian government and individuals associated with the campaign of President Donald Trump.
Okay, stop right there. That's not a crime. Coordination is not a crime. There are crimes for about foreign nationals, but if Trump calls up Putin and says, "Hey, at 6:00 tomorrow night, I'm going to say Hillary sucks. I want you to say it at 6:30." That's coordination, but not a crime. So the reason why the appointment is defective is because he doesn't name a specific crime. And therefore, the fruit of any tree that comes out of that investigation, I would think, will be thrown out. And the only person who's going to fight for that is Manafort. But Mueller is going to put out a hit piece in September that'll do the preferred damage, regardless of what the legal truth is.
Denise, you got 1 minute before we have to go to break.
Oh, thanks. Well, I would say then, where is Glenn Simpson? Where is Nellie Orr? Where is Bruce Orr? Where is Christopher Steele? Where are all these other people? Because there was probably, all appearances show, more coordination, more collaboration. Notice I'm not using the word collusion with those people dealing with connective tissue to the Kremlin than I would say that happened in the Trump orbit, except for the Trump Tower meeting with Natalia Veselnitskaya.
Which is a joke in and of itself. It was a 45-minute meeting. Meanwhile, Nellie...
Stop. I can't
Hold on, we got to go to break. We got to go to break. Ladies and gentlemen, we've got Denise Simon on one end of this, Tom Del Beccaro on the other. You're on Cowboy Logic Radio, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to be back after a short break.
Check us out on the web at cowboylogic.us.
Let me talk to you, black people. When you vote for blacks and put them in office under the banner of the Democrat Party, please explain to me what black people get as a result. This was not a nap that we have been taking. We are in a coma. You know what the interesting thing about pensions is? That's today's money given to people who ain't doing nothing for you today. Get off that black Democrat tit that they've been sucking on. Your country is being stolen from you, and the promise is being stolen from your children, and they're telling you it's all right while the rest of the world is trying to lap us. Well, why are we doing so poorly? 2 words: teachers' unions. Are you kidding me?
Black Man Thinking, Monday nights, 9 p.m.
This is Denise Simon. 18 hours a day, I live in a world as an intelligence analyst. Intelligence analyst. Intelligence analyst. Intelligence analyst. Intelligence analyst. What I find is reprehensible. What I find is terrifying. What I find is treasonous. 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 The mainstream media has completely failed the American people. Failed the American people. people. Fail the American people. Fail the American people. Fail the American people. Join me for the Denise Simon Experience every Thursday night at 9 p.m. Eastern.
You are about to join Don NEUEN, co-host of Cowboy Logic Radio, and Denise Simon, host of the Denise Simon Experience, for a weekly situation report, or SITREP. 18 hours a day, Denise Simon lives her life as an intel analyst. 18 hours a day, Don NEUEN lives his life in the world of rock and roll. 1 hour each day, NEUEN receives a daily SITREP from Simon. Welcome to the Drive Time Situation Report. Fasten your seatbelt. You're now in Don NEUEN's car, and he is calling in for his SITREP.
Check the Talk America Radio schedules for showtimes at talkamericaradio.us. Welcome back to Cowboy Logic Radio. Before we were so rudely interrupted by that break, Tom Del Beccaro and Denise Simon were starting to go at it as far as what is going on with this Mueller investigation, and I call it a sham. Tom, continue where I know before you got so rudely interrupted. Go ahead.
There's nothing wrong with the meeting in Trump Tower. It did not violate any federal statute. And at the time it was taken, no one on the Trump campaign side knew it was, quote, something from the Russian government. In fact, that's still not entirely clear that it actually was, let alone whether they knew it in advance. What is very clear is that the Hillary campaign did take something of value from foreign nationals, and that's a question of whether that's illegal. And it certainly was a campaign violation by her because she did not report that she made the purchase from a foreign national.
Yeah, I'm not asserting that the meeting in Trump Tower with Natalia Veselnitskaya was a crime. All I'm doing was injecting that if there was any sort of raised eyebrow condition, as I see it, with all of this chaos, it would have been that meeting. But beyond that, I don't see any.
Wasn't that a setup, though, Denise? I mean, this is how the Russians operate. They get a pretty woman in there.
Of course it was.
And they did it, obviously, with Carter Page. I mean, this is the double standard's unreal. Meanwhile, we have an actual link.
Of course it was a setup. And therein lies why I would say that you don't take a meeting with somebody named Natalia Veselnitskaya without saying, who is this person? I did a couple of clicks myself after I found out who she was, and this person is as dirty as they come. And if nothing else, you ask the Southern District of New York, because they have got quite the file on this woman.
Well, what the hell was she doing here?
They allowed her to come in. They fast-tracked her coming in.
The Trump administration, yes, it was stupid. That doesn't make it a crime. Don,
I agree.
I need to walk back something Don said something earlier. Carter Page is not going to be indicted for anything, and he's not guilty of anything.
No.
We need to remember that and you can get this on the Timeline for Truth at politicalvanguard.com. In March of 2016, when Trump announced Carter Page, Comey immediately went to Susan Rice and the others and say, Carter Page, we have a whole bunch of stuff on him. We can use that potentially to look into the Trump administration and spy. But the FBI has known all along that Carter Page is not guilty of anything. They just used him. They lied to the FISA court. They implied he was doing something wrong in the past when they know he never had been. And so he's off scot-free. Otherwise, 18 months later, they would have named him. Believe me, Mueller wouldn't hold out on letting the world know that Carter Page did something wrong.
I agree. All you have to do is watch Carter Page one time on television, and you know the guy is a dupe. Okay? Now, Denise Simon, many times when she and I are doing the drive time sit rep, has said, we don't know what is going on with regard to the investigation of Hillary Clinton. And I totally agree with you, Denise. We don't know. We can only pray that they're actually doing really good work, maybe even half as much as what's being reported on Donald Trump. But my question is this. Clearly, we have 4 people that are in on this conversation that I would like to think have above average intellect levels, but are not privy to the kind of information that our congressmen and our senators and people that are in current administrations as well as intelligence agencies have. We don't have any of that. Denise, you've alluded to that many times when we're talking on the sit rep. Why
and what's
is it,
remarkable, Don, is that...
Hold on, Denise, hold on. Why is it that all we are getting is information about the investigation of Donald Trump, and nobody, nobody on Fox News except that broken record Sean Hannity when he keeps regurgitating the same sound bites that he does over and over again. Why is there if there is this investigation going on, and come on, all of us know there's a lot of meat still attached to the bone of Hillary Clinton. Why are we not getting any of that?
There has to be, because let's not forget about the law firm Perkins Coie.
Yeah.
Who is led by one Mark Elias. Now, Perkins Coie was also the law firm of record for the DNC and for the Obama political wing, okay? So Obama paid Perkins Coie just like the Hillary camp did and just like the DNC camp did, all right? So here's, I guess, the bigger question. We're not going to have anything out of John Huber, and that's remarkable. Then where is the intelligence committees or all these other cockamamie committees that we have going on in both chambers of Congress on telling us what it is that they know and don't know and what they need and don't need when it comes to Hillary Clinton, when it comes to Mark Elias, when it comes to Perkins Coie, when it comes to Bruce Orr, when it comes to Nellie Orr. And so, I mean, we can go on and on and on injecting names in here, least of all, which would be, Peter Strzok and Lisa Page. But I guess the bigger question is, the Department of Justice demoted Bruce Orr. Okay. And he's now, he's doing some, drug crimes thing. Well, I guess the bigger question is, why is he still at the Department of Justice?
Strzok is still there, too. Strzok is working in human resources, which means he's hiring people. Who do you think he's going to hire? This is insane. If anything was going on, this would have leaked. Jeff Sessions...
but everything about Hillary is being absolutely squelched. Denise, I don't know. I mean, the only thing I can say is that maybe the DOJ is absolutely stonewalling guys like NEUEN. And I mean,
I'm of the notion that somewhere along the line that Hillary Clinton had got political protection from the Obama administration before they both left. That's the only thing I can say, which means that the Department of Justice is almost forced into a hands-off kind of thing, which then tells me it might be the reason that we're not hearing a word out of John Huber.
Well, you and I have talked about this on Sit Reps. Donald Trump knows that, correct? If that in fact took place, Trump knows it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the only way that he can let things out is bit by bit by bit, right? You and I talked about this.
Sitting back and waiting for the court of public opinion to turn against Mueller, and it is.
And what is that presidential finding? Is that what you called it?
I did.
Okay. You want to elaborate on that? Have you talked to Del Beccaro about that at all?
I have not.
All right. Give us a little bit on your hypothesis, which you never do, on a
well, it's certainly something
finding.
that I can't. It's certainly something that I can't prove, and it defies logic that nobody has asked some harder questions, including media, of Hillary Clinton herself, unless she decides that she's not going to go anywhere unless she knows all the questions first so she can craft her answers. But given the notion that during the whole Hillary Clinton email investigation, and Peter Strzok was there for that one, was he not? It tells me that Obama gave her executive privilege, and he can do that because she was a member of his cabinet. Now, she wasn't she had already left the State Department. But because she may still have security clearance, I don't know whether she does today or not, he could possibly still give her executive privilege or complete amnesty. And therein lies where it may have happened through some kind of, you can't do it through an executive order, but you could do it through a presidential finding. A presidential finding is a classified, top secret, never to be revealed document that presidents sign when they want clandestine covert operations to happen, like the one that Obama signed when we went after bin Laden at Abbottabad. I can't prove any of that, but it just tells me that something is just very wrong here, that we have the Cheryl Millses, and we have the Susan Rices, we have the Sally Yateses. I mean, we can go on and on and on with these names, and nothing has bubbled
getting
to
a
the
pass.
surface.
The Pakistani tech guy, slap on the wrist. Feinstein's Chinese spy / chauffeur. From what I gather, he's still working in D.C. somewhere. So it's all a slap
that's
on
wrong.
the wrist.
He was
He's
fired
in San
5 years
Francisco.
ago, and
Well, he's in the United States. Why isn't he in jail?
Well, he's an American citizen. His name is Russell Lowe. I mean, he's not even Chinese.
Okay. So if he's a spy, why aren't they investigating him? Tom, weigh in on this, because to me it's just really frustrating.
Are you asking me whether the federal government is treating Hillary better than they are Trump? Is that really all we're talking about?
I guess that pretty much sums it up.
No, what we're talking about is the possibility here that there's a presidential finding that Obama signed that will never, ever, ever be declassified, in which he's basically granted amnesty to Hillary Clinton and everything that she has ever done wrong. That's what we're talking about.
I disagree, and I don't think that's possible because I think Trump would let it out.
I don't know if he legally can.
Let me just reintroduce you.
What do you mean? What do you mean? Why couldn't he? Why couldn't he? Why couldn't he?
Denise, why can't he disclose that?
Well, I mean, the presidential finding where Obama signed to go after bin Laden will not be declassified, at least for the first trigger point's 50 years.
Yeah, but that's
what Obama signed. But Trump has the right to override that.
I'm not convinced of that, but I could be absolutely wrong.
What about, we're talking about American citizens being spied on. I mean, this is the whole insanity of the whole thing, too. And you have Barack Obama just a couple months prior to the election saying, well, Trump needs to go back and campaign. There's no Russian collusion. In 2012, just let me get reelected and I'll have more leeway. Pass that along to Vladimir. Uranium One. I mean, that is our national security.
It's all true. It is all true that Hillary has gone away with crimes. And Mueller is a joke because he doesn't have the integrity to step aside, even though he's a witness in this investigation. He's a hack. I'm so tired of the people being impressed by him. What has he ever done? He got appointed to the federal government? Oh, just say to your listeners right now, I had an opportunity to be appointed to the federal government. I refused it. I'm not taking federal government money. just so I could say I'm in the government and start a government career.
I think
Thomas Paine
Rosenstein
didn't ask me to do that.
Rosenstein
So stop with the stop vexing yourself.
Yeah, I know. But the thing is,
unquestionably, government is corrupt. The question is, when is Mueller going to come out and really do his hit piece? He's gone too far. The Republicans should have taken him to court the moment Rosenstein did this. But they didn't. They failed. And now they're going to pay for it.
well, you know what? Didn't Steve Bannon say that? The worst thing that could have happened was a special counsel. Because Rosenstein signed one of the FISA warrants. He's a hell of a lot closer to this than Jeff Sessions ever was. Sessions met with, Kiss My Yak once in a passing at a dinner. And he recuses himself right off the bat. And he also refuses to put a second special counsel in there. They got something on Sessions, in my opinion.
He signed the Fire Comey memo. He wrote it. He's a witness. There's no way in God's green earth or hell below that a witness should be in charge of an investigation. But this is the level of corruption. It's absurd.
You're talking about Rosenstein.
Yeah.
It's actually Rosenstein.
Oh, who cares?
I'll bring that up once again.
Whatever.
It rhymes
It's
with
absurd.
Springsteen. Now you'll remember that.
But as Adam
Yeah,
Sandler
'cause I
will
don't
tell
like
you,
Springsteen.
Springsteen isn't Jewish, but his mother thinks he is. Rosenstein is just the biggest corrupt, disgusting person I've ever seen in my life in government lately. I have another question, you guys. Do you know who Henry Kerner is? Either of you guys?
No.
Okay, Henry Kerner is now the special counsel to the Office of Special Counsel in the Trump administration.
Oh, yeah.
He was
Oh, yeah.
nominated
I mean,
and
what a-
approved by the Senate. So basically, he's the top ethics officer of the deep state in the Trump administration. He was John McCain's staff director who told the IRS to engage in financially, quote unquote, financially ruinous audits of the Tea Party and mostly conservative groups back in 2013. And then Obama and McCain, of course, used the IRS after they lost the Citizens United case to ruin the opposition. Now, who was running the FBI at the time? Guess? Robert Mueller. Nope, Robert Mueller.
Yeah, but didn't Trump have to put a stamp of approval on this guy?
Yeah, I mean, because Kerner
The hell's going
was
on
there
here?
in 2017 in that job.
But the question is, Trump is letting, he's got handlers. He's assuming, and I know what happens when you assume, that I guess maybe these people are okay. I mean, I think this guy who's running the FBI right now is a total joke, too. He's another deep stater. He just got approved. So there's just so much Trump can do at this point to fight these people.
Then why did Trump put Christopher Wray in there?
Well, that's what I want to know.
Well, because he actually thought that Ray would go in there and clean it up, and instead
Then tell
Ray
him to
turned
do so.
into a.
Bring Christopher Wray into the White House and say, look, dude, you've got 90 days to start, some heads on the chopping block here, or
Exactly.
you're out. Look, there are lawyers all over the Trump White House. They've come and they've gone, and a whole bunch of them are still there. And he's got a Department of Justice that works for him. So I would say, where are these people?
I disagree. I don't think the Department of Justice works for Donald Trump. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but hierarchically, they do.
Well, they're supposed to.
And the
They're not.
FBI, the head of the FBI, works at the pleasure of the President of the United States.
And you've got Mueller questioning why he fired one of the heads of the FBI, which shouldn't matter. Basically, they're undermining the President of the United
Trump
States.
didn't fire him.
I'm talking about Comey.
Trump didn't fire Comey.
Well,
Okay, so you guys,
sort of, he did.
of course it's easy to say that Trump should have fired X and should have fired Y. It's much harder when you're actually in office to look at everything and invite the firestorm such a firing would invite. It's not that easy.
Correct.
Well, I agree. It's a hell of a lot easier for us to sit here and armchair quarterback. It's all we ever do. But the bottom line is we had 8 years of a well-greased machine to destroy America, and now we're trying to rebuild it. And the first year and a half, almost 2 years of this has been an abysmal nightmare for all of us to live through. I mean, Denise, you and I've said it countless times. We thought it was bad during the Obama administration. We had no idea. We had no idea how bad it was going to get.
And that's right. And so at some point, somebody, John Kelly being chief of staff, or, Kellyanne Conway, or some of these people need to put a memo, a well-crafted, well-thought-out memo in front of Trump and say, dude, you're going on TV tonight, and this is what you're going to say, period. Trying to, manage all of this by tweet is causing his, he's adding gasoline to his own fire, and then he's adding gasoline to our fire. And so I would say he is media himself because of what he's putting out there on Twitter. All of this is being played out in the media, all of it, and it shouldn't be. Rudy Giuliani shouldn't be out there. Jay Sekulow shouldn't be out there. Nobody should be knowing anything as I see it. Then we can get on to some real business.
I disagree.
There's no way you should.
The media is not doing their job. Go ahead, Tom.
Denise. So you're just going to let Robert Mueller come out with a corrupt report and have it?
I didn't say that, Tom. I didn't say that.
You said they shouldn't be out there talking about it.
We don't know what Mueller is going to come out with. We can guess because of all the buildup leading up to this.
And Mueller should come out. Mueller's going to come out with something. I'll make the prediction right now, and then you can say, "Oh my God, Bill Beccaro was right," just like I was right when I said last November there'd be in excess of 4% growth in the second quarter of this year if we passed the tax thing. Just like in 2010, I said Obama would lose 65 some seats and he lost 63 in the first midterm. Here's the prediction. Robert Mueller's going to come out with an extensive memo that is going to say that Trump had an incredible number of shady circumstances. No actual crime, just a shady bunch of people. And the only way to fight that in advance, especially since it's corrupt, the process, is to undermine his credibility now, not then.
The media did their job, we wouldn't have this problem. That's the bottom line. They're letting the Watergate of this century go by the wayside to report about Stormy Daniels.
Okay, I got to stop you right there. Mm-hmm. The vast majority of American history, the media has been biased. Yep. It has had biased members on the left and biased members on the right. That was completely true all the way up until 1900. It was semi, and I use the word semi very strongly here, objective up until Vietnam, and then it went back to being completely biased, but less so on the right. I don't expect CNN to do their job. There will never be from CNN, NBC, ABC, and the rest a Pulitzer Prize for investigating a Democrat. It is incumbent on anyone on the right who cares about these things to do it themselves.
Well, that's what the hell we're trying to do.
It's kind of why Donald Trump tweets.
Hey, I want to go back to something that I started this whole hour with. Say what you will about Robert Mueller. Whether you like him, whether you don't like him, whether you think he's doing a good job, what he might be not disclosing, what he's going to come up with in November. The bottom line is the guy is exercising a level of power that is fit for a principal officer, and he is not that. That to me is the underlying thing on this whole thing. And you're right, Tom. It may have to go to the Supreme Court. But here we've got an inferior officer of the federal government that is acting like he is a principal officer, and that is not constitutional.
I've only got a few minutes left, so Tom, give us your closing comments here. Where do we go from now?
I think this is one of the darkest periods in American judicial history. I think it, in the end, will dwarf Dred Scott. And if I had to make a guess 15 years from now, I bet that they get away with this.
Boy, that's pretty downer.
Yeah, really.
Denise, normally I don't go for you for the pick-me-up moment, but can you help us out there?
Wait a minute. Slow down. Do you want me to make inaccurate predictions?
No. We ask you. I'm just going to Denise because I'm hoping that she's got some nugget up her sleeve that's going to put a smile on my face.
You pay me to be right, not to be flashy.
No, it's scary.
I'm not disagreeing with you.
Go ahead,
Denise.
Given that Nunes has come out 2 times here with essentially a document, his version of a manifesto on what is happening here, I would argue that there needs to be some White House liaison operatives that are working with the Republicans in the Senate and Republicans in the House, that they can come out with a major manifesto that includes our dear Miss Hillary and all the rest of her in her camp, and include all of those that may be running in 2020 that would be a countermeasure for whatever the prediction that may come true that Tom just mentioned. They have that ability, so they can minimize whatever Mueller may come out with. The tools are there and the facts are there. And we can go through them, all those names again, from Comey to Strzok to Loretta Lynch to, Greg Craig in the White House and all the rest of them. I mean, put it out there. So then there would be such a media frenzy on what other facts that we don't know about yet should come out that it could neutralize any damage that Mueller may think he could impose in September.
We can only hope that the media would do its job. We've got less than a minute. Tom Del Beccaro, Denise Simon, first of all, thank you so much for being with us for this hour. Your insight, your wisdom, we appreciate it. We value it. One quick question for both of you. Do you think we will hold the House of Representatives in November? Yes or no? Tom?
Maybe.
That's a typical lawyer.
Out.
Denise?
I do.
I do too.
I hope so.
All right, listen, I've made predictions about this before that have been pretty bold. No one was saying Obama was going to lose above 40, let alone the 60 that I set. The truth of the matter is this is going to be nip and tuck the whole way.
Well, they have to energize the base.
We may lose the Senate. We may lose the Senate
unless we're going to pick up seats in the Senate.
We can pursue the thing with Menendez because he's back in the ditch again.
All right. Denise Simon hosted the Denise Simon Experience, heard Thursday nights 9 to 11 p.m. on our network. Her website, founderscode.com. She's a contributor to Tom Del Beccaro's website, of course, politicalvanguard.com. You heard Tom this last hour or so, too, former chairman of the California Republican Party. Again, founderscode.com, politicalvanguard.com. Thank you, guys. Denise Simon and Tom Del Beccaro for joining us here on Cowboy Logic Radio. And that wraps things up again, folks. Have a great week. We'll see you next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. And in the meantime, God bless America.
Out on the web at cowboylogic.us.